Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese, episode 576. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, Matt, we're adding South Park: The Fractured But Whole to the list. Matt, what's your favorite episode of South Park?
Oh, God. Oh, fuck. Instinct says Kanye West, gay fish.
Oh, wow. More... I was going to call that contemporary, but that's now still like 15 years old.
Now that I've had time to think, the entire Imagination Land saga is a great arc.
That one was so good. Were you able to watch that like live the week after
No,
week it was airing?
I watched it all back to back.
It was so cool because it was just like you didn't realize that it was a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? Like you never know when they're going to do those like multi-part episodes. So when they were doing that, it was just like there's more, and then after week 2, you're like there's more. It was so good. Yeah, that's a good one.
One you can't rewatch anymore that I think might still hold up if you can find it is the Family Guy saga too. I love the dumb writing joke with the dolphins. Yeah, I don't remember anything else about it, but I just remember I kept laughing that entire time of how much they made fun of Family Guy.
Yeah, that was good. There was some subtle stuff in there too. I have that on DVD, but even the DVD is like edited or whatever. But the commentary for that one's good because after they did part 1 of that, they said that the people from King of the Hill and The Simpsons called them up and were like, "Thank you guys so much. We hate Family Guy. We were so happy that someone finally did it." And they were like, "Oh, really?" So that's why in the second episode, there's a flash where I think it's Cartman's chasing whatever it is. There's like a chase scene, and they bust through the offices at Fox, and they run through the King of the Hill writer's room, and they show like the King of the Hill banner and everything. Very quick, very subtle. Yeah, that was a great saga. I'm always old school. Whatever, but like favorites, it's always the ones that had nothing to do with anything. Like Underpants Gnomes, that like they do tie into a bigger thing, like Starbucks taking over small business and stuff like that. But it's not so on the nose as I think they've become.
Yeah.
Where do you land today? Are you still keeping up with everything?
So honestly, I would say in the last 2 years, maybe a year and a half even, I've had a complete renaissance with South Park, and it's mostly because I've got Victoria into it. She always I went through that little phase where I was going to watch like a season or 2 or whatever, and maybe try to catch up until I got tired of watching it, and then I threw it on, I think in the living room when she was out, and she walked into it, and she's like, "This show is so offensive. I can't believe I can't believe you watched this or whatever." And I'm like, it's really not. If you start at the beginning of an episode, whenever they address issues like this, they just walk the fine line, and they'll teeter one way and then teeter the other, and they might cross that line and then come right back in and cross it going the other way. But it's really I think it's just clever writing. And then I was like, sit down and watch some episodes, and I started playing some classic ones that I knew, and then we started just kind of probably around the seasons of The Fractured But Whole, but I started her kind of around there, because those are the episodes I'm probably most familiar with, is kind of right in that saga. And then we just kind of started watching seasons. I think we're all the way up to date as far as seasons go, maybe 1 season, but we have not watched any of those specials on Paramount or anything like that.
And I think that's it now. Like
that seems to be it. Yeah.
I don't think they've been doing seasons anymore, or they're counting these things as the seasons. It's a weird, I don't know. Yeah, I watched a good handful of the Paramount stuff, and then I just sort of hit a point where I mean, they canceled Halo, so why am I going to keep Paramount? No, but it was like I didn't have a need for Paramount Plus. And the South Park stuff was so inconsistent, I wasn't going to just keep it for that.
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead didn't come back, so what am I doing here? Yeah,
Oh, I take that back. We did watch one of them. We watched the Streaming Wars because that's what made us watch the new season. Because Integrity was already in place.
yeah.
What's the one across the street? I forget what he calls it.
I don't. Token's dad's place?
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it.
But like that's established, and that like we got to the point where Integrity Farms came in, but we did not know that whole thing happened, and they immediately like made another joke. So I was like, all right, I got to do it. We got to go watch. We got to go watch the season.
There.
So we ended up doing that, but we did get to the point where we watched that special. But that's it. That was about the end of it.
I think that's where like I will watch it if I sign up for another month of Paramount Plus because there's something on or something. I'll burn through those, but I don't go out of my way for it anymore. Like I used to. Like I remember it used to be like every Wednesday night, 10:00, go. For 12 weeks out of the year, or however many weeks they do the episodes. Like all the way back to season 4 or 5, I was doing that. Like I remember it was like 2000, 2001, watching all that stuff live as it hit, and just
I've been in and you see, I've been in and out. Like sometimes I follow the seasons religiously, than others, but I didn't really start doing that until it probably was college. So we're saying 2010, 11, I start maybe caring more about South Park, and at that point, it'd been about 35 fucking whatever.
I know, yeah. Well, then, so right around that time, though, it had to be the best thing in the world for you because they announced the Stick of Truth in 2012.
You would think that, but there's probably so many references that I missed.
I feel like Stick of Truth did a better job at, like, subtle references. Like, and I think Fractured Butthole does it as well. Like, for me, the only, like, major references that you really need to have, like, watched the show a ton to get there's like subtle things. Like pretty early in this game, like there's a reference to like Clyde says like rest in peace mom or something, right? Like obviously like that's one, like if you'd seen the show you know what happened. If not, you just know that Clyde's mom's dead. As you wander through town, there's all the like little
shitpaw.
What do you call it? I
said shitpaw town.
There's that, right? Like but even I think some of that stuff like you don't necessarily need it. The one that I think is the most like fan service kind of thing is the music playing in the background of everything. Or if you're in someone's house and the TV's on and you hear like the different like shows and stuff that were
right.
On air or whatever. So yeah. Well, we've jumped all over the place here. Why don't we jump in and talk a bit about, or we'll properly introduce the game. South Park: The Fractured Butthole was developed by Ubisoft Incorporated. They pulled in a lot of sub-development teams, but let's just say Ubisoft. They also worked directly with South Park Digital Studios. It was published by Ubisoft. It was released first October 17th, 2017. Primary platforms at launch were PS4, PC, and Xbox One. And of course, back of the box, if I can pull it up, reads as follows. Coon and Friends Assemble. From the creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. A dark shadow has spread across South Park, a new power is rising, and this time an entire squad of superheroes must stand. Create your own superhero and use your incredible abilities to save the town. We've got 3 screenshots here. First is an alien leading a small child away that says, develop your mysterious superhero backstory. There's a fight happening with Mysterion and Toolshed. Fight epic battles with a new combat system. And then everyone gathered around the table in Cartman's basement. It says, recruit other heroes as your buddies. There's also a big old stamp on the back of it. Besides the Best in Show E3 awards, there's a bonus content, Towley, your gaming bud, and it just has a picture of Towley waving at you. So there's that. Why did we add South Park: The Fractured Butthole to the list this year?
This is related to Super Mario Galaxy 2, believe it or not.
I don't.
So with Super Mario Galaxy 2, it's I would say the only 3D Mario game that is pretty much the same premise, just like new levels and a slight change to mechanic with Yoshi. That's pretty much this game to the stick of truth. It's
that's fair.
Pretty much the same game, and they changed the battle system and some of the leveling. The battle system is now grid-based instead of turn-based.
That makes a lot of sense. And you had been playing Stick of Truth around the time.
Yeah, I started playing Stick of Truth again. And then once I added this to the list, I kind of stopped. I just kind of let the anticipation keep building.
Because you'd never finished it the first time through, or you had?
Fractured Butthole, I did not finish.
Stick of Truth, though, you did finish.
Yes, I did finish.
Okay. Yeah, same. When this came out, I did not finish. I don't know why I fell off of it.
I don't know why.
I really no clue. Maybe like I'm thinking back, like 2017. That's when we have the Switch. We have Nier. We had some pretty heavy hitters for that end of year podcast, Game of the Year stuff.
Game of the Year stuff's the only thing I can think of. But I think I just fell off because I felt bored or just wasn't in the mood for it. I don't know. I don't know what kept me away.
I'm with you. So what's the setup for South Park: The Fractured Butthole?
Coon and Friends. So actually there's an episode that is like a prequel to the game where all the all the Coon and Friends end up having an actual civil war, and they split apart to Coon and Friends and Freedom Pals, kind of setting up like a Marvel vs. DC kind of thing. That episode ends with the split pretty much, and it's the game starts with Coon and Friends getting intel by way of a wanted poster that there is a cat lost with the reward of $500. I think it was $500. And they knew they could use that money to get their Coon and Friends movie or Coon and Friends verse with movies and Netflix shows and comics and all the pizzazz in a multiverse that you would see today with the $500. So game starts with Coon and Friends trying to find a lost cat and let South Park shenanigans ensue.
Yeah, and you kind of get the what I really like about that is it feels authentic to what kids would probably do, right? I mean, think about how stupid we are as grown-ups making lists of video game, all the stupid, like all the work that we put into something like this. If you subtract 30 years, we'd be planning out our own franchises. There probably is somewhere in a note somewhere. There's probably franchises I tried to map out somewhere along the way, but yeah, I think that fits really well. And I like that this picks up kind of right after the game too. Like, when you actually start, playing this game in your hands on the controller, like you're picking up from sort of like right at the end of Stick of Truth. All the kids are still wearing their Stick of Truth garb.
Yeah, like they're
still fighting and playing
Dungeons and Dragons garb, I would say.
Yeah. And that comes back full circle at the very end of the game, which was a nice surprise. But we'll get to that later on. As we jump through the story, I guess this episode, the way I've kind of mapped out our outline here, we'll talk generally I think the story beats will kind of hit as we just talk through progression in the game, but I just want to make sure we hit like some of the story beats, but also the mechanics of playing and finding things and just sort of how it feels to play the game itself overall. I think that was my big impression from this, is just like I had fun playing the game through to the end. Like, which is, like, to your point, so shocking that I didn't finish it before, because I don't have much bad to say about this game. In fact, I don't. There's like one actual piece of criticism I have, if I'm looking at my notes.
I'm curious to hear when we get there.
Yeah, but that's it. So, how well do you think we've got the premise, we've got the setup of this story, it tied directly into an episode. Do you think they did a good job of combining South Park with superhero stories?
Yeah, like it's. I mean, superhero stories, they go all over the place. I like this is more like they want to build their own thing, but
right.
Like there are dumb superhero like esque moment, like the nighttime at South Park turns into the worst kind of superhero escapades.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like in a way, you could see Batman or someone being involved in that in a much different light.
Probably
on the things that
it
happen.
still has a South Park flavor to it, but yeah, it could fit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just how like your character and the other kids that you just stumble into crime syndicate after crime syndicate and all this other stuff by
Strip
complete
clubs
accident.
And
Yeah.
Do you think that I think one of the common tropes with, not tropes, but one of the common complaints with superhero media these days is just that people are over it. It's tired. You yourself have proclaimed, done. I'm not seeing another Marvel movie. That's it. Do you feel like this was repetitive, or that did it get boring or tired in that way? The
battles start to get repetitive by the end, but I'm laughing too hard to kind of care. And if I got that bored, I was subbing in and out of character. So, like, I don't know what you think, though.
I'd say, like, I kept changing my party out all the way through to the end, just because I got pretty, not bored, but I was always trying to see, like, if I combine this element with that element, or if I have someone who can do a gross out thing and someone who can do like a knockback, like, what does that look like? Oh, or sometimes it was just like, I don't know, I like Wendy's super, so I'm going to put Wendy in, you know what I mean? Like, stuff like that. And then I feel like I don't think the story got repetitive. To your point, like, the battles do, because they're just the same thing, but it's never like they don't outstay their welcome. And I think they're so well done, and they're generally just the right length of time. Like, I never lamented getting into a battle, where, like, sometimes in an RPG, you're like, not now, you know? Where, you know, and this was pretty good too. There were a few times where I was like, I just need to get to this destination on the map. I don't want to fight anybody. And then a raisin would come running from behind a trash can, and I'd be like, no, not now. And you can usually outrun those things anyway, which was good. Do you think that this, I mean, it came out 7 years ago. Does it hold up for you?
Yes, actually, I think the humor got better with time because of where we are now with all this shit.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe it just wasn't. I don't know. I'm gonna keep coming back to that. I'm just baffled that we did not stick with it in 2017. But I'm glad that we didn't, because we got the chance to play it now. So you play as the new kid. For those who haven't played this or the predecessor, you play as the new kid in South Park, which works so well for a video game, I think, where you're able to customize what you look like. You're able to, like, put yourself into the game, which I think is important to giving you some sort of, I don't know, just connection to the world, and feel like you're actually a part of it. But as you go through the story, each kind of act of the game, you work with Cartman to sort of rewrite your origin story. How well do you think that worked as a plot device?
It worked, and then they did it the second time. And then when they were building up to do it the third time, I was like, I can't do this whole tutorial again. And the way Cartman just starts speed running it, I'm like, yeah, they know.
Yep. Yeah, they know.
They get
exactly. It was so
they
good.
get it. Yeah, and then all of a sudden I started enjoying the story again, because then I think an alien comes through. This, like, it's so dumb.
Yeah. Always adding just a little bit more. And I think that's the thing too. I remember when Stick of Truth came out and they interviewed Matt and Trey about it. Trey was talking about how, like, he plays games and like knows what's good and what sucks, and like they learned a lot during Stick of Truth about how to make a game, which they were like horrified about because of how like the process of how long it takes when they're so used to making things in a week.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big learning curve, but you know, and he cited stuff like Earthbound and things like that as inspiration for Stick of Truth, which, not that you can see it 1-to-1, but like if you appreciate Earthbound, then you appreciate like the life system, right? Where you get hit and it's clicking down. If you can get the kill off before you're dead, you can survive the battle. Like, I feel like that's something subtle you pick up on as a player, that when you're designing a game, you think back to like your experience and what can make that better and stronger. Did you feel like the story was better this time around than Stick of Truth?
I don't remember every detail of the story from Stick of Truth. I do know the punchline joke from the Stick of Truth, though, is still, like, I think about it, I start giggling. Like, the whole Taco Bell is being built, and there's clearly a spaceship crash over top this wooden fence that has this little poster that says Taco Bell coming soon, and everyone in town's buying it.
Yeah.
I think that joke lands better than these kids are just looking for a cat, but getting caught up in crime syndicates and all this other bullshit.
Yeah,
but
the only thing with the crime syndicate that like felt, I think you're right. The Taco Bell is a funnier gag. This one ended up reminding me a lot of the season 7 episode where it's called like Lil Crime Stoppers, where they are playing cops and robbers or whatever, and the cops end up bringing them in, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we could use guys like you in the force," and they end up like breaking up a meth lab. But then as they're breaking it up, and it was all like because they're trying to find a little girl's stuffed doll, then the other kids who were playing FBI come in and kick them out because they don't have jurisdiction anymore. Like, it took me back to that episode of just sort of like, it's a little bit far-fetched, but the cops in South Park are so stupid, as seen repeatedly in this game, all the way up through fighting the Quake boss in the basement of the police station. So stupid. But yeah. Were there any other references? We talked a bit at the top about like sort of what things felt, you know, maybe a little specific to having seen the show, or fan moments, fan appreciation, fan service. Was there anything specific that stood out here where you were like called back and you were like, I got that, and I'm happy they put that there?
The obvious ones with the shitty town, or I forget the one that Kenny lives in that ends up.
The Sheepa town.
Sheepa town, I think, is the good one, the one that ended up working out.
Oh, I don't remember what they called Kenny's. I just remember it was
Soda
like,
Sopa. Soda Sopa.
Soda Sopa. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sheepa town. I liked, because there's always that glow when they cut to it in the show. I do like when you start walking towards it, that sign is always just coming right across in the foreground, and to kind of replicate that like shine and glamour of the town that, you know, they always get to in the show. That made me laugh. I would say the thing, as far as references, and you kind of mentioned it earlier with the music, I sat down my controller at Texas Victoria. She was tied up, but like I had to do it. When you started fighting Kyle's mom, Sheila, and just the orchestral instrumental version of Kyle's mom is a bitch.
Yes, like so subtle.
I was no good.
No, that was really good, because it was just like, I think for me, that was the thing that stood out the most overall. Was my favorite moments in this were like the ones where, as I'm going into something, I kept thinking it'd be cool if and they always did. You know what I mean? Like that one, I was like, I wonder if they'll play like, and I didn't even think it like all the way through. It was just sort of like a half thought of like, I'm fighting Kyle, and like you just run through like, what do you remember about Kyle's mom or whatever, and like it just happens. Like I had the same thing in the police station. There was like some wanted poster that just had, or I think it was when you first walk in and you're like talking to the cop who buzzes you through. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of like dudes' faces on a like wanted thing. And I was like, oh, it'd be funny if one of those was like one of the Nambla guys from the episode where Cartman joined Nambla. And I didn't recognize any of them as that. And I'm like, I don't know. And then you go in a little bit further into the police station somewhere, and in the back room, there's a Nambla Most Wanted list, like in the background of a thing. It was just like, all right, cool. Which again, like they worked directly with South Park Studios, so they're going to make sure that all this stuff looks right, feels right, sounds right, has the right flavor and all the right things to it. Yeah, that was fun. Were there any surprises for you as you went through? Story-wise, character-wise, introductions to different people?
I completely forgot that Call Girl was a thing.
Was she in the original?
I don't know. It definitely made me question it.
I feel like they probably, like, for that show lead up to this, because I feel like I only watched that the one time when it aired, so I don't have as...
I watched it when we were going through. I remember seeing that episode. I'm like, oh, I should probably rewatch it, and I never did.
Yeah. I imagine they probably established all the characters in the show that were going to be in the game. But the first time they did, like, the Mysterion arc way back, whenever that was, I don't remember, like, all of these kids having all of these. Like, I feel like we only focused on a core group of superheroes.
Yeah, what's the kid with diabetes?
Scott Melkinson?
Yes. I feel like, I don't know if Scott had a thing, but like I feel like he did, though. I feel like everyone as playable did at some point.
I'm sure, yeah. Because they've done a few of these, like, superhero-style shows, so. Were you surprised at where, like, any of them ended up on either side of the Civil War or the teams, the breakdown?
No, but I love that Craig and Tweek got separated.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, they really, like, brought the whole Tweek versus Craig thing back full circle in a nice way in this game. Really, really well done. Speaking of which, are you also the proud owner of the trophy for collecting all of the Tweek and Craig Yowie in the...
Sure did.
Perfect. Wonderful. Did you have a favorite of the... I took a bunch of screenshots while I was playing this with the intention of sharing everything in our Discord, and I did not do it beforehand, but yeah. I took a screenshot of a couple that I was like, this is good. This is tasteful. I like this one.
I don't remember any of them.
I don't remember the look of them. Yeah.
But there's just a few that I'm like, oh my God.
I like the one you get from Craig's dad as the reward for collecting all of them. It was a nice little, like, cool. I did it. I guess in terms of collectibles, did you also make it to every toilet in South Park?
Sure did.
We'll talk specific about some of the mechanics in the game in a few. I want to talk about that mechanic specifically, but overall, story-wise, did you think there was a good pace to how everything was delivered, chapter by chapter?
I would say the only thing that felt weird, it felt like the end of night 3 when you get to the I'm forgetting names. He's a character in the early episodes. That dude, the professor, the scientist, the one who's always putting another ass on something.
Yeah. Well, it's 4 specific. Yeah. Mephisto's lab.
Mephisto. That's So like, I thought that whole arc was going to be the end of the game, and then like you wake up, and there's still like another arc before it ends. And it wasn't a bad thing because I was kind of like sad that it was over. And then I just found out there was more South Park. And I was like, all right, I'm not mad about this. Yeah, but
to your point, like the way that they kind of handled the Mephisto stuff, it felt, especially because...
the boss fight, I think the boss fight felt definitively like, oh, that's the most appropriate way to kind of go out.
Exactly. Should we, are we open to spoilers here? Do we give the folks out there listening a minute to...
Yeah, I mean,
like you don't want to. I'm fine if we don't. We can keep it vague.
No, but there's gonna be some other references we're gonna spoil, so you may as well just go all the way. The game's 12 hours. If you kind of do some side stuff, it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, Well, there was your spoiler warning then. Because yeah, you get to Mephisto's lab. By the end of it, you kill one of your parents, and then you fight Kyle's cousin, which was great because Kyle's cousin, like, his whole arc through the whole game was so well done. Like, and of course it is, because his whole thing is just that he's back, right? Like, and of course he'd be back. But the way they brought him into each fight was so good. Like, the random times where he'd show up while you're in the middle of a fight, he'd do nothing. He'd fall down, break his glasses, and say, like, I'm whatever. It's too cold outside. I gotta leave. And he'd just leave the battle. Like, no consequence at all. Like, nothing happened. That was perfect. And yeah, for him to be, like, huge, giant, size of the moon. But yeah, to your point, like, that felt like this is the end. But yeah, it made sense they had to sort of, like, rewind time to fix the parent thing. And I thought it was neat that we got to, like, then have Christmas and have Santa in your party and fight because the Woodland Christmas critters, what are they? I don't know how to.
Woodland. Yeah, you're around it, if not it.
The episode, and the whole thing was Woodland Critter Christmas, but I guess they're just the Woodland Critters.
I think.
Of Christmas. They were in Stick of Truth, right?
I don't. You see, that's like this fine detail. Like, I remember the final boss of that being Chef, if I remember correctly.
Oh, see, I don't even remember that.
That
sounds right.
Because I thought it was like Nazi zombie Chef.
That sounds right. Yeah. And he's really big, right? Or no?
I don't think he's really big. I think it's just I forget all the details of Stick of Truth. But that damn Taco Bell. Never forget.
Yeah. I don't remember. But yeah, either way, them showing up here as, like, enemies you had to fight, like, as another kind of boss battle, and I thought that was well done. But also, yeah, a nice. I think that was maybe the only big, like, story surprise throughout the thing overall. With that being sort of not a fake out ending per se, but just sort of like where you felt like a little awkward there jumping from one to the other. Did you still feel like the length of the story overall was well padded?
I like, it's one of the, like, I kept playing, and honestly, if I before recording, I went away and I could not play any more of this, kind of, in a way, not as seriously as I would have wanted to. I probably would have jumped into the DLC because I kind of still want it more. I don't know if I would have bought everything, but I was definitely going to buy Casa Bonita and play through that saga. So, you know, like, it was appropriate, but I'm also like, I don't know how much more, because again, the battles start to get repetitive a bit.
Yeah.
And you get your, at this point you have your full party, and at that point you have full access to all the powers on your end.
Sure.
So you can adopt anything you want to do. So, like, any kind of major changes you want to do, you can. They kind of keep it fresh, but you're running out of things to keep it fresh in a way. The story, though, was the thing that kept, like, what's the next part of the arc? What's Mitch Connor up to now? Like,
yeah,
you know,
I forgot.
The whole back and forth with him and Kyle doing the whole. They were both Mitch Connor, and you were doing the battle, like, so ridiculously dumb, but
so,
like,
well done too.
But it was like those moments, like, okay, a sixth grader accidentally hit me, I have to fight them or whatever, but, like, sure, that was like the thing. I was like, whatever by the end of it. But, like, those battles were, and the woodland creatures, and, like, those things were the ones that kept me going and wanting to engage in the next boss fight to see what's next.
Yeah, I think there was a good pacing to it. It wasn't just about the fighting itself. It was the story. It was the characters. It was how everything was doled out. I agree. I want to talk a bit about combat specifically. We've talked, like, about fighting and that element, but let's break down a little bit. and this is where I should have done some research before. Do you remember the battle system from Stick of Truth?
I do.
Great. Tell us about the battle system in Stick of Truth.
It is turn-based, and you only have one partner at any given time. But you can sub out that partner at their turn, but I believe that eats the turn. So, like, you can bring in a healer and whatnot, but you're not really incentivized to change too much. Kind of more situational kind of things. But yeah, it was your character at all times, your ally against whatever was brought, and it was turn based. And I can't remember how they did. I can't remember if they put the turns in order, if you kind of just knew. And the key change in this, you could use an item and attack in the first game. You cannot in this one.
Oh, interesting. Was the first one still on a grid?
Nope, it was just Final Fantasy style. You pick a enemy.
Okay, so yeah, that was a little bit of a shift.
So that was like the going back to like why this is when the battle system had this big change. I mean, subtle in a way, but a major shift in terms of like regular, RPG turn-based battling and grid-based. And that was kind of like my relation from like Yoshi shakes things up. It's still Mario, but you do play as Yoshi. You do play Yoshi a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I think what's neat in this one is I think you do have a lot more at your disposal for combat. Like, you're able to swap out. You mentioned before, by the end of the game, you get all of the different powers. But even as you're going through the game, you're like able to have which powers you have depending on which classes you choose, but also which characters are in your party. And all of that lets you sometimes attack one grid away or knock out a line, and you can really like mix and match things. You really have a lot of variety in the combat. Do you think this felt better to play combat than Stick of Truth?
Yes.
How does this compare to other, maybe not tactics games per se, but like turn-based battle games like it?
It's easy enough to grasp, but there is some complexity, because if you screw up a turn, it could come back to haunt you.
Yeah, very easily. Especially some of the later stuff, like...
some of that stuff gets hard.
It gets tough. And if you punch someone who works at a taco stand enough, it gets very hard. Was there a like right combination for you in terms of power sets or characters that you brought into your party?
So I slowly reacted to my character, and as time went on, and as my dad fucked my mom, I became a very heavy support class. I became the healer. I took like what I do in MMOs, and I took my class and literally put it to my character. And so I usually combo that with like a brawler, someone up front. So oh my god, why Scott? Either like Scott or Mysterion. I kind of subbed them in and out. Someone that had a little bit more range, so like Professor Chaos. Was it Tweak that had the freeze attack?
No, I can't remember. I feel like Tweak had I remember Tweak had the robot that you could deploy, and I would use that a lot.
I think Tweak also had an attack that would like freeze someone in place, so they skip their turn.
I think you're right.
So I was using Tweak or like some kind of combination of that. Toolshed.
I'm thinking of Token, not Tweak. Jeez, sorry. Two different T's. Yes, you're right. Tweak had that. Token had that.
Well, it's Token nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, like Toolshed had the diagonal thing, which was kind of cool when I first got him.
Yes.
But no, I ended up once I got Call Girl. Call Girl is so good.
Yeah, dude, I used her in every battle. Like by the end of it, I think my party, weirdly enough, I think like going into the final stretch, I kept using Wendy, Jimmy, and Kyle, because Kyle was my healer since I didn't go that route. Yeah. Did you ever feel like having 4 moves were too few moves? Like, did you want to flesh out your options?
I like wanted to, but at the same time, it kept it simple because I feel like some of those tactics games, because of all the different moves, it gets very complicated. Like the 10 minutes that I probably have in a Fire Emblem game is like it's not a lot because I'm early on, but it's still just like the grid's way bigger. The move set, obviously at the beginning, not much, but you can easily flesh that out. I liked that I was forced to keep it simple, and it got me thinking creatively of how to like complement things, because again, like your one character doesn't have 8 actions; it has their 4.
4. Yeah, right. Did you have a particular super that you liked the most?
I want to know what yours is first.
Definitely Wendy, Call Girl, for sure. The like Shin Pokemon Go Stampede that just runs through and like parades over everybody. That was too good.
That was pretty good. I liked her regular move with the when they pulled out their phones, phone destroyer.
Oh yeah.
And they used the regular move, but it blew up.
But I like so that's real quick, just to like go micro a little bit into the game, and like I think something that works so well in making something that has a strong, and this is what I think this game does so well. It does something super strong from an RPG perspective, from a combat perspective, but also like it's funny and it maintains the character and the characterization, like all in one thing. And with that one in particular, the Phone Destroyer thing, it's like it's a callback to the Phone Destroyer real game they made on mobile. It ties into Wendy's character as Call Girl, where she uses all the phones. But in the game itself, the other like little funny part is every time you would do it to another person. Like I remember doing it, it was after like Jimmy got brainwashed or something. So I used it on him while we were not brainwashed, but he was, someone blew him a kiss. Yeah. I did it to him, and like you hear him say like, "Wait, what?" And he like takes his phone. Like it's like subtle in the moment where like you see the character actually reacting to what's happening to them contextually, saying something, and then something happens to them, it damages them in the battle. Like it just hit on every little thing, and like that's one example of however many of those happened across every character, every one of their moves, and every interaction with another, character type in the game. So well, and like dialogue that was so specific to the situation too. Very, very well done. Yeah. Favorite super?
Trying to think of. Well, I kind of like how Cartman's just isn't a super. It's just him taking pictures as him going through the metaverse, and then him like finally scratching someone. I ended up. The animation's dumb as shit, but I adore Jimmy as like the Flash character for just obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But his is really good with like him doing like the turn back, or him like orbiting Earth kind of Superman style, but not pulling back time, which is kind of odd because you have to pull back time in this game, which I just thought of that now. But like, it's that dumb shot, like the obviously green screen shot of him like going through the talons and stuff like that. I thought that was just well done, knowing how that stuff is or was kind of filmed back in the day. But I really liked my person's super. They had the drone. It was a drone thing that just came up and lit up real bullets into a section of area, and then ended it with a rocket and bombs, and it just blew up. And South Park does their like blow up animations. It looks like real. Yeah, it was that.
That's really good. Was that, which class did you get that super from?
I think it was the 3rd class, the laser.
Oh,
the guy with lasers. I think it was him where he got it, because that's when I started playing with the support stuff because that one had the thing that Tupperware had with his robot. Or you can put out the mannequin that will blow up after it was hit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Cool. What was the most creative way you felt the game reinvented a traditional gameplay mechanic but gave it a South Park flavor?
I think the archetypes were really well done.
What do you have a favorite of those?
I just like the dumb. I don't have like a favorite one, but just how they took like the dumb characterizations of the characters and a lot of them like strength, intelligence.
Yeah.
And like those archetypes. I think the artifacts themselves that you use to up your hero power. Again, can't think of one specifically, but like, all them. Like one of them is like Randy's album.
I had like I had a fidget spinner at some point, which made me laugh.
That was early.
There's a lot more like in world, yeah. And you find different things too, like depending on where you are. Like the stuff that you would find in drawers at Token's house versus what you would find. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
And I loved how they just fed it all as like medicine, waste, and like they allowed it to just go into a thing. So that way you just don't have. It's not like Fallout where you have a whole backpack full of junk and it just ends up you just turn it in or whatever. It just automatically went there, but it allowed them to pull their punchline. Like go into Cartman's mom's room and seeing the dildo. Like of course, right?
Yeah. Which I feel like the first game had the Antonio Banderas blow up doll, which was but yeah, a lot of stuff like that. I think that was really, really well done. I think I forgot about all the like little that's a really I think that's a perfect example actually. I can't think of a better one than that. Did you have a least favorite enemy type?
Ooh, it was probably early on, but it was the Chaos Crew because my guy had like fireballs and they wouldn't burn, so it's kind of slightly annoying. Other than that, I don't think I had like the ninjas. I kept spawning ninjas. Mildly annoying. They weren't fun.
Yeah,
mildly annoying.
The first fight I failed that was like aggravating was in the strip club. After the one enemy comes through the wall and you've got to hurry up and move forward, I just wasn't moving forward quickly enough. But that was a little pain.
Yeah. I didn't really. My biggest thing there, I didn't realize you could break the chairs. I kept like going in and out, so I was wasting turns, and then yeah.
Overall, did you have fun playing the game?
Oh my god, yes. Yeah,
I thought so. I just wanted to. When did you find yourself laughing out loud the most often?
Is all the time a bad answer? Because
no, I don't think so. I think
the little stuff like you mentioned with the music in the store, I just start humming "Gay Fish." Like the subtle. I really liked. I don't want to say this made me laugh, but there's something I need to bring up. I really liked how this felt like the menus and the music felt like I was playing Spider-Man, but the release date of this game is a year earlier than that PS4 Spider-Man.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Yeah, and I guess that's where the Ubisoft part of it comes in too, right? Where like they know how to design a game.
So like it was just like the small little subtle music when you're in the overworld walking around because you don't get like the tracks until you go into convenience stores or in people's houses or anything like that. So they had like the subtle overworld music. The menu is that blue from. I mean, it's close. It's not an exact replica, but it's close. And I don't know. It just had this feel of like literally at times I had to look it up to make sure. I thought this came up before that Spider-Man, and it did. And it's just so weird how it felt like that experience again. Because swinging through New York, you kind of have similar music.
We'll have to look and see if there was like people who left Ubisoft partway
potentially.
Through this and, I have my one gripe I can throw in here while we're closing out talking about mechanics. I think the one neat thing is as you progress through the game, you meet different core members of the South Park like supporting cast, and they introduce new things to the character. So, when you meet, you don't get to choose your gender, but when you meet Mr. Mackey for the first time, that's when you start to, you're able to pick that class. And there's a reason for that. It plays in with the story. And I think it's well done, in terms of like building out, I think something that's inclusive, but also provides social commentary. I think they handled that well, the way they handled a lot of the other stuff around that. You meet PC Principal, a character I don't like at all anyway. I can't stand that he's still around. But you meet him, and he introduces the concept of microaggressions to you. And he teaches you that in battle, if someone uses a microaggression, you can challenge that by hitting X, sort of like a quick time event, and you can kind of get a hit in on that person for whatever. The thing I didn't like about the microaggression system is that it was twofold. One, it was very specific things, and it was always going to give you the button prompt. I felt like it would have been a little more challenging if you had to detect the microaggression and then you would press something.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like just a little challenge. Because specifically, like, the sixth graders were using so many. Like, there was one where they'd hit me and be like, why don't you go let your boyfriend take care of that? And it was like, and I was like ready over the X button to hit microaggression and it never popped. I was like, oh, I guess that one doesn't count. So that was my one gripe, is like, I think it was a neat system, but it would have been a layer better if I could have been a little bit more in control of that. Other than that, like, I don't have a bad thing to say about mechanics. I think what's great about this is, like, I was going to save this I'll save the one flavor of this question for the end, but like, I think you could play this if you don't play video games. I think you can set the difficulty to low,
Yes.
You can jump in,
Absolutely.
and you can enjoy this. Like, it's very approachable. It slowly teaches you how to play the game and what to do in it. And I think, like, yeah, it's very easy to play. To Matt's point earlier about like walking through different parts of town and like different things coming into the foreground, like, the game itself just looks and feels like the show, right? Like, it flows. It feels like you're watching an episode of the show. Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah,
Or...
I you get to a point with the gameplay. We've said it multiple times now where it gets repetitive, but like, it's the rest of it that kept me coming. It's exploring the town, and damn it, I had to explore the neighborhood 3 different times because I got 3 different mechanics that allow me to open new doors or whatever. But I was never really upset that I had to re-explore a house. Like,
no, because there was always like something new.
Yeah, or something dumb that I maybe missed the first time or even the second time. Like, it's so... it's
hold
so
on.
good.
Now, you're reminding me, I have a second baby gripe. And it is the powers you unlock. The like, mobility powers you unlock. So, the one thing we haven't talked about at all yet is that this game, your main character... completely central to the character is just the ability to fart. And there's that's the core of the character's nature and whatever. And you learn different farting techniques, which, like, that part, there were times where it was kind of like, all right, I get it. You learn different fart techniques to do different things, like turn back time, which is used realistically in the game to, like, reverse a turn or cancel out a turn of your opponents. Things like that. The part where it was the one you get with Kyle. You get 3, is it 3? You get the one where you call Scott Malkinson. It's like the buddy powers. You can call Scott Malkinson to knock something over. You can call Stan to
blow. He's got the air canister.
Kyle's
the kite.
Kyle lets you double jump, and then Butters
And
has the hamster.
Yeah.
That you shoot at wires.
Yeah.
I felt like those specifically took just too long. That I wish it were just like a tool that I could have used or had at my disposal.
Yeah, it was almost like you could have either skipped the loading thing, or you could have skipped the animation of them coming in.
Something needed to be cut there.
Yeah. But minor. It got yeah. I mean, when you did it back to back, and you kind of knew the whole like you came into a room, obvious a puzzle thing needed to happen. You kind of knew all 3 steps before. Like, yeah, slightly annoying, sure. But
all told, it's like 2 minutes of time that you spent. Yeah, it's not.
And you're not
worst.
doing it all the time either. You're really
no. The time when it felt the worst is when I was like, oh right, there was a pinwheel over there and over there. I can go run across that backside of buildings and pick up the collectibles real quick while I'm back on this side of town.
Yeah. I would say story wise,
doing cleanup.
Story wise, the police station is probably the most buddy system heavy. But other than that, minor. Again, it's a minor thing.
Let's talk about the toilet minigame before we move into sort of visual sound and close out on this thing. Was the toilet stuff in the first game?
Somewhat. I remember the farting mechanic, but I don't remember sitting on a toilet. But I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. I feel like that was new for this. But yeah, you have to go around and, I mean, you don't have to, but it's a core piece to like poop in toilets throughout South Park. And they're all done with like different. I thought that like for how stupid of a thing it is, they put a lot of thought into the controls of that. Like using both joysticks, using different combinations of triggers and face buttons to just perform different actions. And like it was a lot of like pat your head, rub your stomach style, like backwards of your intuition sometimes. But I found myself like if I went into a new house and was like, all right, my checklist is hit every room, hit every drawer, poop in that
find a toilet.
Yep. Like I gotta, and it, I had to sit and I had to get a perfect 4-star rate or whatever the stars were on the, had to do it each time. I feel like some of those, they felt clunky by design, intentionally so. I didn't feel bad about it, but was there any other moment or was there anything where you felt clunky with controls? We talked about
really,
like the accessibility of this.
Yeah, really just that. Because it really is sometimes like you got to rotate and then go like left and right on the like your 2 thumbs are doing completely different actions, and
yeah.
I was terrible. I mean, I got it. Like I wasn't like I struggled, but I never like failed anything really because I was very good at doing the refilling up the gas.
Yeah, the refill's easy. Yeah, it was the ones where it was like a counterclockwise and an up down, but then you had to quickly switch to a left right. That stuff was a little
yeah. But that is needed for a trophy. Sorry, it is a trophy. I was gonna say you don't even need it for a trophy, but there's other stuff you don't need for trophies.
Oh yeah. Speaking of visuals, did you run into any bugs or anything weird while playing?
I don't recall.
No, I had one baby hiccup with like a cutscene where I just
lip sync was off.
Yeah, and I was just like, "Oh right, this is a video game."
Was it the when you're first going into the police station?
I think so. It was early-ish on in the game, but I remember it happening, and I was just like, I don't think I wrote it down.
I had it one time. I think it was that first initial when you're raiding the police station. I think. Or when you're given the first mission from the new chief or the police commissioner to go and, clean up the neighborhood.
Yeah. Stupid. Yeah, there was one moment where I was like, "Oh, right, it's not an episode of the show." But otherwise, like it all felt fluid and smooth and I think really well done. Sound-wise, did you have a favorite song while you were wandering around town, opening up store doors?
Big fan of Randy. Sorry, I mean Lord.
Oh yeah, that was a fun one to find. I'm always a fan of Faith Plus One.
Mm-hmm.
Any of those classics. But speaking of sound, I think that's the other big thing we didn't touch on either. But like, it's still Matt and Trey doing all of the voices. They're all there, and like I mentioned it before a bit, but like during combat, the way that characters will react to things and things like that, like how important do you think it is that like you actually have the people working on the show making the game?
I mean, I think it's huge, but yeah, like it goes back to what I said earlier, where this just felt like one of those giant arc episodes.
Yeah,
I could just, I would have happily watched this episode without playing all the stuff in it. Am I happy there was stuff to play in it? Yes, because it was a lot of fun to play through.
In that sense, do you feel like the same way you'd go back and rewatch one of the episodes, you would replay this game?
Probably. Because I started playing Stick of Truth. I was going to play through with Victoria. Then I was going to start. Then I kind of started playing on my own. And then I got real like trophy hungry. So I was doing a lot of save scumming. I wasn't playing it correctly. So I kind of fell off. And then also knowing this was in the rotation coming up, that's when I stopped. So yeah, I can see me replaying this. And I actually do need to play this one last time to get a platinum trophy, so I could see me not doing it like this year, but maybe that's the perfect excuse to replay it so I can watch all the cutscenes again, because I feel like if I played it now I would skip all the cutscenes because I know everything.
Yeah,
I feel like it doesn't do the game justice if you skip all the cutscenes.
No, I don't think so. No, because they're so integral to it. Yeah. Anything we didn't hit on that you took a note on that you wanted to call out?
The big thing was the superhero vibes from the menu that I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
I really like the battle system. It's simple, but it's not too simple. It makes you think. The end of the game does become a bit of a challenge on regular difficulty, but I think it was a good challenge. It was needed to not make it boring.
Yeah.
The some of the side missions are great. I love the D-Mobile takeover by the crab people.
Yep.
So
did not expect crab people in this game, but that was
good.
A nice surprise.
Well, I kind of knew the crab people were coming because if you early on when you go to Raisins, you pick an arch nemesis, and I picked the crab people as my arch nemesis, so I had a feeling they were coming.
Right, yeah. I picked the elderly. Yeah. There was another subtle thing with the Raisins. I liked when you got in a battle with them, there was this little subtle hint of the Powerpuff Girls theme that would play. Like, that's like kind of their musical cue. Did you go back to Raisins and buy all the selfie passes?
I did. I didn't use them all, though, but I have them all.
I think I used them, but there was one who wouldn't let me take a picture with her until I had a different class. I know some of the patrons wanted you to have different classes, but I feel like she didn't want to either. I can't remember.
She wanted a class.
Okay. Then yeah,
I think that was the last pass, but I'm not. It could have been someone else hiding somewhere because I didn't do all the. I was doing a lot of the photo stuff, but I didn't do it all.
I did as many of those as I could for sure.
As far as little dumb moments, you mentioned Mackie and the and like cisgender versus transgender and all the race stuff, like all that involved in that. I loved no matter what you chose when you came out, you had to face the rednecks and they were mad no matter what. Yep. And I was picking like cis, male, white, American, and they're coming, you're a cis, male, white American.
Yeah.
You're taking our job.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, that was a nice touch. There's a lot of like, again, like they still treat it with humor and everything, but I think all of that stuff where it's a delicate subject to touch, and if you walk one direction in the wrong way, like it all falls apart. I feel like it was like still funny while being tender and like you know what I mean, like letting you I don't
And I'd be remiss not to mention the fight at the top of the police station, not the bottom, the top.
Man, yeah,
that was the first. I think that was the first maybe the next boss fight too, the one in the bottom of the basement, but that was the first time I was like, oh my god. I'm just sitting I'm like Oh no.
Yeah, I guess that was pretty fresh news story.
Not to
yeah.
Pun.
Huh?
You said it was pretty fresh.
I did not mean that. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, and they really went for it there too.
Oh yeah, the whole move set. Yeah. Oh man.
Pretty
yeah,
good.
I would say the police station boss fights were like probably the 2 times where I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That's that time where I was talking about earlier, where you gotta start to cross the line. They found it.
Yeah. Then they go back the other way. The only other thing I had jotted down was I really liked, it was right at the beginning of the game, I guess the 2 things. But the first time you go into Cartman's basement and you see the Scuba Coon costume in the background. It was so perfect. Like, he had all this different costumes because it's like, there's so many dumb Batman toys and Scuba Batman's always like a cliche that pops up, but like all of that, like neon electric wire Batman and like just all that stuff that's like never actually a thing, but they make toys out of it. That and just car.
Oh yes.
So
no matter
good.
who you were facing to.
Yep.
Always
I had that happen with a redneck fight once, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is so yeah.
Even the dumb joke with Chaos when you're going through the storeway, and he keeps saying Coon and the friends. He kept saying it specifically, and Cartman every time it's Coon and friends.
Yeah, like in the middle of the fight too. That was really really well done.
Oh, and one more fight, the tally fight in the medicinal herb. What's it? Medicinal herb.
Medicinal fried chicken, right? Yeah.
Is it fried chicken or is it something Kentucky Fried?
I can't remember now.
Yeah, but the tally boss fight was a very cool
nice
design.
Change of pace.
Yeah.
What is the worst thing about South Park: The Fractured Butthole?
You know, it was right in my review. I was trying my best to think of a negative, and it was just minor complaints like,
yeah,
man, maybe it didn't necessarily need the last act, but also so many good moments come from the last act as well. Like, I'm not mad that it was there.
Yeah.
The fighting gets slightly repetitive, but if you're at that point just going story beat by story beat, they're not repetitive because they're mechanically different as well, not just like beat the opponent. It's crazy. I mean, Stick of Truth put South Park in the right direction for video games, but it's crazy to think like the Fractured Butthole and the Stick of Truth end up being so good, knowing what came before, what garbage.
Oh yeah,
they put
I just
out.
Recently played the kart racing game. It's not great. Not good even.
I mean, I remember. I think friends that had an N64. I'm pretty sure they did a Blockbuster rental of the South Park game, and I think I was at an age where I didn't know it was bad, but I remember not having fun with it.
That is my exact I like couldn't say that it was I didn't think it was a bad game, but it was definitely like, I don't like this. I like the show and I like that it's kind of there, but it wasn't.
No, I mean, but yeah, like you said, it's just minor things like the buddy system slightly long. I wish there was like 2 more fast travel points. Minor complaint.
Yeah.
But I wish there was like another one in the neighborhood in the front kind of row if you're looking at the map, on that second side where it's instead of having it at the just school and walking. Yeah, it's just where Cartman's, and then the far left one's all the way to the school. I wish there was one like in the middle.
Bus stop. The bus stop would have been a perfect spot for
But even that, it made you walk by the bus stop, and then they would be a dumb joke like, "We've been waiting since December." Yeah,
exactly. What is the best thing about South Park: The Fractured Butthole?
It's the show. It's a show wrapped in a game, or like it's the show, the game, and wrapped around a show. However you want to say it, but it I genuinely felt like every time I booted my console and I was walking through town, I got to a story beat, it felt like I was watching an episode and just watching how ridiculous the show can be. And it's not a bad episode either. It's a really good episode.
Yeah, no, not at all. Well, I think with that, we have the tough choice to make. Where do we put this on the list? Listeners, you can go to thefreecheese.com/the list and see all of the video games we've ranked so far and where we've placed them. Matt and I are now going to stare at this and figure out where it falls.
I'm going to give you a range.
All right.
This might be bold, but I am happy putting this thing anywhere between 6 and 12, I think.
Okay, good. Between 6 and 12. So you don't like it over Hotline Miami.
Oof. I didn't know you were going to go that high. I might agree with you.
I didn't think I was going to go that high, and then you said 6 and 12, and I'm like, no, I like this better than Hotline Miami. Holy. Ooh, shoot. Do I like it better than Street Fighter 6?
You don't like... I mean, World Tour, it's World Tour. I think mechanically it's the best fighting game I've ever played, and...
No, I agree.
But World Tour and the create stuff, I mean, that, like, you always said 2/3 of that game you'll never play. I played a third of it. I liked it, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm telling... I mean, Street Fighter 6 I will go back to periodically, but, like, I won't replay World Tour. I'll replay South Park, though.
So you say yes, put this above.
Let's do it. Let's fucking shake up this list a little bit.
All right. Sekiro?
It can be more fun to Sekiro.
Shoot, dude.
If Sekiro is that's a stress test in a way.
I agree with you. Like, I just don't know if this is it better than Sekiro?
We could stop there. I mean, I think Sekiro is one of the best games I've ever played.
I do too, but at the same time, I also think South Park: The Fractured Butthole is. It's weird.
I mean, my score.
It.
I know,
Yeah.
but my score is up there. I mean, it's right there with all of them.
Yeah.
I think I stop at WarioWare though, because that game's just so easy to pick up and keep playing.
Yeah, I agree.
Put a 4.
Yeah.
Let's shake it up.
It's the new 4?
Yeah, let's shake it up.
All right. All right, sold. You know what's so funny too? Like, as I opened this, I'm like, well, it'll be somewhere in the 20s, probably. Nope.
No, I had a blast. I mean, my review, like, not that we talk about numbers on the air, but I mean, I'll say them. I gave it a 10 visually because it's a South Park episode. I gave it a 10 in sound because all the subtle details are so good. And then the feeling score, I gave it a 10 because I enjoyed every last second I played this game.
Yeah. No, I was right there with you. Like, I didn't go straight 10s, but yeah, dude, it's very good. It is very, very, very good. And it's our new number 4. What a weird thing. Did not expect to come into this episode with that.
I like it.
No, I do too. It fits. It fits very well. And that's South Park. So next week, we'll be back with part 3 of our Halo Combat Evolved series, where we are talking about the cooperative campaign. Matt, I guess, one, do you have any interest in playing South Park Snow Day?
I was until I started seeing the reviews. So now I'm a bit
too.
concerned.
Me too.
Maybe if it ever comes. Well, I guess I'm going to be a Game Pass member again in November, so if it ever came there, sure.
Good point. Yeah. What about a third one of these? What do you want out of another?
Absolutely. Oh, well, sorry. What do I want?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot of art that they don't probably have. I mean, I know they probably had to redo a bunch of art to put in the engine and stuff like that. I would love for them to do like that. Remember that anime episode they did?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's like the next thing they haven't touched that they could easily put into a game, but that's a lot of... I don't know how that works.
Yeah. That'd be a fun one for them to do, though. I think the thing I want most, like, it's cool seeing a lot of these other characters. I'd like to play them. And I know it wouldn't necessarily always make sense for an RPG, but, like, seeing Dr. Mephisto, like, I'd love to have Dr. Mephisto and Kevin join the team. I don't know what that looks like. But, yeah, whatever that is, that would be fun.
I'm surprised they didn't have more summons in this game.
Yeah.
Because you had Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jimbo.
Moses, Jimbo, or Ned there too, right?
There was a third one. I can't remember the girl's name. It was the one... It's the whole thing. Oh, Classy. Classy had a thing.
Oh, right. But
it was the Classy with the L that fucks the A. Or whatever.
And then you had Kyle's dad high on cat urine.
Oh, right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done with more summons. That would have been fun. But even still, I liked what they did. I cannot believe this is number 4 on this list is insane.
This game's good, though.
It is very
I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad.
We
probably will in like 3 weeks, but I'm not mad about it. And I'm a week removed from this game, too. It's not like I just finished it yesterday and I'm riding the high.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's been a bit. I don't know. I feel like I had the same sort of reaction when we put anytime we break the top 10. I always kind of feel this weird little like, ooh, did we make the right choice? And then you come back and look at it and it's like, yeah, they deserve to be there. It feels weird because but when we're sitting here struggling to think of bad things to say about it, they did something right, I think.
Yeah, then, to argue the list point of view, if you look about 41 places down, Metal Gear Solid 2 with 45. So,
yeah, this list is it's always has been and always will be a mess. We'll come back for Halo Part 3 next week, and then after that, it is off to Horrorland as October kicks off 4 weeks straight of good stuff. Until then, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.